First, let's carefully lift off this foam pad, and then we'll extract the main unit of the machine itself. Oh wow, it definitely has a noticeable heft to it when you hold it. Now let's go ahead and power on the screen. There's a small adhesive pad here, which we'll place to the side for now. All in all, I have to say, the color combination looks really appealing. The speaker is front-facing and the screen offers a total of 3 distinct angles. When tilted below 90 degrees it does indeed close automatically, but honestly that's not a particularly crucial feature. As for the other buttons, they provide a moderate and satisfying tactile feedback. The shoulder buttons also offer a very suitable amount of resistance and response. They are very well balanced. The small function keys on the front offer a very suitable amount of pressing force. And then we have the volume keys, the TF card slot, and the power button here. Alright, even though I have a leather pad underneath this for safety's sake, and to prevent scratches, I am still placing the device's original foam pad beneath it. To keep it completely safe and prevent any scratches, I'm using the device's original foam pad and placing it underneath. Now we're going to officially begin disassembling this machine. We can see that it's currently held together by 4 Phillips screws. Let's proceed to loosen them now. Alright, with the 4 Phillips screws from the outer casing now successfully removed, we're going to attempt to pry open the cover. We'll use the shoulder button area as our initial breakthrough point. Okay, this entry point proved quite successful and allowed us to make progress. Given that we've made a small opening, we'll use a pry tool to carefully slide along the perimeter. The outer casing itself doesn't feature many additional components, only 2 buffer sponges and an exhaust vent dust filter, primarily due to the quite large size of its vent holes. Implementing a dust filter effectively prevents dust accumulation and ingress. The air intake vents feature a horizontal circular arrangement. Now we have a clear view of its internal components: the shoulder buttons, the speaker, the battery, and the heatsink. Let's proceed with disassembling them systematically. I should start by removing the central part first, so let's begin by detaching the heat dissipation unit. In the very middle, there is a sticker present here, which we will now carefully remove. Alright, I'll be sure to replace this sticker with a fresh one later, so it's not needed anymore. Now let's proceed to gently pry up the fan. Alright, the fan cable's connector is located right here, so we'll go ahead and remove it. With a gentle touch, it simply lifts off. However, when handling this cable, it's crucial not to apply too much pressure, as it's quite delicate. Now let's proceed with the disassembly and take off this part. There's a vibration motor inside, and it appears to have been upgraded to a linear motor. Next, for the speakers on both sides, let's start by carefully detaching the speaker connector. It comes off quite gently. Now at this stage, we should now be able to unscrew this central portion. By the looks of it, there are 3 Phillips screws. Alright, we've successfully unscrewed this cover plate. Its purpose is to secure the vibration motor and also function as a decorative cover. There's a sticker located here, which will. Let's move it aside. Directly beneath it we have the central heatsink. We'll proceed to unscrew it. It should be held by 4 screws. Once all 4 screws are completely removed, we'll carefully lift the heat dissipation unit using a pry bar. Alright, let's take it out. This entire heat dissipation unit is So this is a single, complete unit, including the fins and the heat pipe all together. At this point we can see the battery cable here. We'll go ahead and carefully disconnect this battery cable. Alright, now with this, the machine is completely Now that it's completely powered down, we can proceed with disassembling the motherboards located on both sides and in the middle. We also need to carefully detach the Wi-Fi antenna. We've observed that the joysticks are secured by their individual boards, so it's necessary to first remove both of these side components. This particular piece This is the left speaker. Only this section serves as the acoustic chamber. The remaining portion is simply a cover plate. Now let's proceed to unscrew the upper part. The left joystick mechanism has now been successfully detached. We can observe that this is in fact a sticker, this particular sticker. No, it's not actually a sticker. This looks like it's meant to be a metal plate. Located beneath this metal plate are the screws that secure the joystick's mounting. This metal plate primarily functions as a decorative component, and it conceals a very firmly attached joystick. We'll now move on to disassembling the other side. Alright, we've also successfully taken off the left shoulder buttons. At this point, the L1 and L2 buttons are ready to be removed. We'll just carefully pry open the joystick's ribbon cable, and it's off. The joystick on this side seems to be held on more tightly, likely because there's a post in the center here, a post that hasn't fully passed through. On the back side there's an identical decorative panel, which we'll also set aside. At this point the circuit board is essentially fully exposed. However, it's quite interesting because these two boards, which could easily have been integrated into a single unit, are actually separate. You can see how closely they are connected. Let's also gently pry open this small ribbon cable located in the middle. Let's set aside this small ribbon cable. You see, this board even features an irregularly shaped structure. They didn't integrate it into a single unit, likely to facilitate easier component replacement, I suppose. Alright, let's also disconnect the shoulder button's ribbon cable and place it to the side. Let's just put this ribbon cable aside for now. And then, on this motherboard we also have the joystick light cover. Let's put that aside as well. At this point, if we want to proceed with further disassembly, it's actually best to first remove the battery. I'll take this quick release film for the battery. I'll peel off this quick release film. With this quick release film serving as a convenient handle, we were able to effortlessly remove the battery and then we'll reattach it. This particular battery is a 6000 mAh unit and it's held in place by a single large piece of double-sided adhesive. It's fixed firmly in place, so it's no surprise that it was so sturdy. At this point the circuit board is essentially fully exposed. Let's see what else we can pry off. We'll start by disconnecting all of its ribbon cables. This should allow us to fully detach this. Okay, all the ribbon cables on the board are now disconnected, so let's proceed to unscrew the remaining parts. The left D-pad still uses a dome switch mechanism. We'll lift this button, and this component here is the D-pad itself. Its D-pad, comparatively speaking, is thinner. Similarly, there are 4 screws, and after unscrewing them, alright, let's remove it. It also features these cross-shaped gold fingers, followed by the A, B, X, Y buttons. This particular button, it seems, is a This is a brand new button. If we wanted to manufacture it, we would need to create a completely new mold. The only remaining component is the motherboard, so let's go ahead and remove the screws from the motherboard. Now let's try to pry it up. Alright, that came off quite easily. On both sides there are enormous There are shielding covers on both sides of the motherboard, along with numerous test points. Surprisingly, the 2 small function keys located on the upper and lower right-hand side of the front panel are integrated directly into the motherboard, which I hadn't anticipated. At this point we can observe a metal piece. This metal piece conceals the LOGO button beneath it. Additionally, it's also a dome switch, and for this LOGO button, we'll just go ahead and remove it. The volume and power buttons on the side are also secured by a metal plate, but this metal plate looks more like it's just slid into place, so let's try to gently lift it up. Alright, we've successfully lifted this button up. And now the internal buttons are ready for removal. The volume and power buttons are also secured from the back by this rubber strip, specifically this silicone strip. What else is left? I can see 2 more screws here that are still amenable to being unscrewed. Let's loosen these to uncover what surprises are hidden underneath. Once they're unscrewed, we can clearly observe that this specific location acts as the exit point for the ribbon cable, traveling from the top to the bottom. Over here we have the hinge mechanism for this whole section. It seems there's nothing else that can be dismantled on this particular surface. There should be nothing on this surface to remove, so let's turn our attention back to the front of the device. We're going to try tapping it ever so gently. Oh hey, it seems like that did the trick. Alright, now that we've got that handled, once we had pried this side open, we were able to remove this cover. There's a magnet here, which I believe controls the screen's magnetic sensing sleep function. However, this particular cover reveals absolutely nothing internally, despite being removed. Seriously, if we were to simply place a piece of paper here and then cover it with a transparent layer, wouldn't the visual outcome be significantly enhanced? Of course, that's just my wishful thinking. As for this non-transparent section, specifically this particular surface, I'm unsure if everyone can clearly see it. There's a somewhat problematic area in the middle, implying that the outcome of molding it wouldn't be very satisfactory. It contains a lot of injection molding gates internally. Indeed, all of these are injection molding gates. So even if it were made completely transparent, the final result wouldn't be particularly impressive. This section here is the hinge. Let's attempt to push it up and observe. Alright, that's it. This time it's successfully pushed open. Now that it has been pushed out, we can proceed to take off this top cover with ease. Alright, there's a slot here, quite similar to the NDS, which serves as a passageway for the upper screen ribbon cable. This particular design is quite well conceived. Initially, given the machine's considerable size, I had presumed it might incorporate two hinges. However, it turns out that it actually only has a hinge on this one side. The top screen is fully laminated, so I can't remove it, and this device is now almost completely disassembled. How much time did it take to disassemble it? 42 minutes. Yes, it took a total of 42 minutes, including a short phone call in the middle that lasted about a minute. Indeed, a dual-screen clamshell design is inherently more intricate, which naturally extends the time required for disassembly. The workmanship is quite commendable. What truly surprised me was the irregularly shaped motherboard, which I hadn't anticipated at all. This design choice was made to accommodate the A, B, X, Y buttons, given the device's compact body and the motherboard's considerable width. To avoid this, they opted for an irregularly shaped motherboard design. Of course, a more radical approach would have been to integrate the entire left section into a single, seamless piece. However, for the convenience of repairs or part replacements, they designed it as a modular unit. This way, if a player's controller malfunctions, it can be individually swapped out, which helps in keeping costs relatively low. Will still be comparatively lower. Moreover, the full glass panel on the front truly offers a rather pleasing texture. While the integration of my grey device with this screen may not be as seamless as that of the black model, the overall visual appeal of this grey and black combination remains quite satisfactory. I feel that if white were combined with black, the contrast might be too stark. This grey is actually quite decent, at least that's my opinion. Furthermore, it still features dual Wi-Fi antennas and these semi-spherical, snug-fitting joysticks. It's the 8 Gen 2 processor version, but an 865 processor version is also available, of course. I wonder if owners of the 865 processor version could simply upgrade their device by swapping out the motherboard. What if someone decides they no longer want their machine, or if its screen is broken, or it's otherwise damaged, right? They could acquire that faulty machine, replace the motherboard, and essentially convert it into an 8 Gen 2 processor version. So, how can I put this? It still features an internal design of high caliber, and its cover is expertly crafted. The instant I first turned it on, I'm certain you all observed it as well. Almost every part that could be hidden was indeed hidden, wasn't it? Everything was effectively obscured, resulting in an overall aesthetic and visual appeal, that is. That was excellent. And with that, this device teardown concludes. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye.